Well, guys, we're back today with another Supreme Court ruling, and this one is against the EPA. This is Diamond Alternative Energy LLC versus the EPA. And basically, they were arguing that the EPA gives special rules to the state of California, which also impacted, I think it's 12 other states, 15 other states, somewhere around there. And they gave special rules that allowed California to regulate the amount of gasoline vehicles that could be sold, or petrol vehicles, if you will, that could be sold, and how many battery powered vehicles had to be sold. This company produces gas and gas kind of products, so fuels, if you will. So they thought that this hurt their business. The problem was courts wouldn't hear it because they said that this case actually doesn't impact them because it is not specifically regulating them. So they took this up to the Supreme Court, and in a, a 7-2 victory decision, the Supreme Court ruled in favor of the fuels company, and now a court has to hear their case. They did not rule, from my understanding, this is not a ruling on whether California can make these rules. It's not a ruling on that at all. This is a ruling whether they are allowed to sue the EPA. That is what it is. So they have deemed that companies can sue the EPA even if this regulation doesn't directly impact them. So like this, yes, selling more electric vehicles by force doesn't directly impact or regulate the gasoline company. But as Kavanaugh said, it's very easy to, deduce where this is going. That, you can use some common sense here and, make a pretty easy argument for how this could negatively impact a fuel company. It's not very difficult. He says anybody should be able to understand it. Yes, he's not wrong. So basically, if the harm is predictable, that's enough. It's, courts were refusing to hear cases like this, so now they are forced to. This opens the door up to a bunch of automotive brands to be able to sue the EPA for things that maybe didn't directly impact them. And now it basically rewrites the terms for what these either district courts or circuit courts can actually shoot down. They might not be able to now because people can cite this case, which is how case law works. You set a precedent like this and boom, now people can use it. But like I said, they still have to actually sue the EPA now. That's a whole nother case in itself. This was just a case whether they can sue the EPA. So then it gets confusing when you hear, the two people that dissented on the agreement say things like this. You may, if you know the Supreme Court, you're probably not surprised. It was Sotomayor and Jackson, the women. Yes. Sotomayor disagreed. She said it's not clear that this rule actually caused the harm. Car companies already planned their EVs, so taking away the rule might not change anything. We should wait for the real proof before letting companies sue. Again, I don't understand that because you're not really ruling on whether this company is right or wrong. You're really just allowing a company to sue, which makes complete sense. I mean, I don't understand how you can argue that a company can't sue the EPA for negatively impacting their business. I don't understand that. And then Jackson, she said, she was a little more blunt. She said, if we let companies sue every time they think a rule might hurt profits, then big businesses will flood the courts and regular people won't stand a chance. Standing rules exist to protect the courts from becoming battlegrounds for powerful interests. This is about fuel that people buy. So this does impact millions of people, presumably. I don't know how big Diamond Alternative Energy is, but the fuel industry in the U.S. is fairly important. So it's safe to assume that many, many people get impacted by this kind of stuff. It's safe to assume that it's not just this one company dealing with this. Again, they are not making a decision whether this company is in the right or the wrong. They are legitimately just deciding whether this company can sue the EPA. And personally, I think a company should be able to sue the EPA for anything they damn well please. And if the whole EPA has to go to lawsuits, great. If all of the money is tied up in litigation, perfect. Screw them. Personally, that's my belief. I know some of you may not agree with that, but that's what and I get it. Cases get thrown out for many, many reasons, but I think you should be required to hear the case, and I think that's how 7 out of the 9 judges agreed with me. But the big question, of course, is, can a company sue if a rule doesn't target them directly but still obviously hurts their business? It seems super reasonable. That was basically the question of the whole thing. So now we'll see how this unfolds. Will they go after California? Will they win that lawsuit? They might not. I don't know where that lawsuit will end up. It might end up in just a district court. It might end up making it to the Supreme Court. We don't know. It's hard to say how that will play out, but that's something we'll probably be following as well. Maybe they'll overturn the entire electric car mandate stuff. It's hard to say, but that's kind of where we sit right now. I think Kavanaugh said it best when he said, got a quote right here, "You don't need expert studies or economic reports to know that if California makes car companies build more EVs, people will use less gas and fuel companies will lose money. That's just common sense." And that was what he was saying was, he basically was not understanding why the courts wouldn't see this case, because he was like, well, it seems pretty obvious why you should see this case. So now it's opened up. Now the flood. I imagine the moment this stuck, the moment this hit the wall, just, I don't know, not even a week ago at this point, the EPA got some letters. They got served. And there's probably more lawsuits coming towards the EPA of businesses that got hurt. I know Corey Willis with PPEI. He's the first automotive company to actually sue the EPA. I don't know if they heard his case or not. I'm not super familiar with how that's all played out, because it's still an ongoing thing. But this opens the door up to him and people like him that have had their businesses just ransacked by a corrupt organization. And I'm going to end it off there. Got a little frustrated, got a little fired up about this stuff, but hope you guys understand what all is going on here. I tried to learn it best I could so I can relay the evidence off to you. If some of you guys are much smarter than me, which many of you are, and I missed anything, got anything wrong, or anything that should be added, fire it off down into the comments, because I'd love to hear it. But that's going to end it off there. Thank you guys so much for watching. Keep it saucy. I will see you next time, and don't forget to follow.